Hello and welcome to another Breakfast with the Black Dogs. This time we will be facing off against the Missouri Tigers after last week facing off against the Auburn Tigers. I am your host, Arthur Hosey Jr. of the class of 2008, and I am joined by my classmate, Jeremiah Short, and some other guy named Derek or something like that. I don't know.
Are you hating because y'all played my Delta with Mississippi State played Miss Valley this week in basketball? I think.
I mean, we
You
might
trying to draw. You trying to draw the lines
we
now.
might lose that game.
That's the men, right? That's the men, right?
Yeah. I mean, we might lose. I'm gonna be honest with you. The boys, well, I don't know. I'm starting to think that maybe the boys aren't as bad as we think. They aren't
second half team
good, but they aren't horrible either. But what is?
Well, with the boys, I think it's kind of hard to tell because it's pretty much a whole new team other than Molinar and like maybe
DJ
one
Stewart.
other Abdul Ado. It's a whole new team.
DJ Stewart.
Man, Abdul Ado.
Yeah, DJ Stewart.
Trash. Anyway,
I mean that's not the point. I'm just saying it's a relative all new team. So we don't know. They could end up being a lot better. I don't think they're gonna make the tournament or anything this year, but you never know. I know they put in. We'll get to that, but Jalen Johnson into the lineup this week. It seems like he gave him a little bit of a spark. So
yeah, because
who knows?
Cameron, the freshman, he needs to be on the bench.
But so Derek, what's on your mind? You know, we doing the intros. You know, Jeremiah wanted to start the topic.
Like, stop breaking fourth wall, man. God.
Man, I'm chilling, man. It's championship week across college football. But the only thing I'm really worried about football-wise outside of us hopefully beating Missouri is my Kansas City Chiefs visit the Superdome this weekend, hoping to lead the Dome with a victory. But Drew Brees and his broken ribs are making a return to the lineup, so we'll see.
Drew Brees,
all the Mississippi State Bulldogs on my Chiefs, baby. And there's who was that on? JT. JT is still with the Saints, so you know a lot of Maroon gonna be on the field in the Dome this weekend.
Drew Brees need to sit his behind down somewhere. Jeremiah, you know, what's on your mind today before we get started?
That man, just I guess we did have an interesting signing day, so I'm kind of excited to talk about that. Just wanted to shout out my nephew. He just signed with the University of Incarnate Word here in San Antonio. They're gonna build their cross country program around him, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Build their cross country program around them. Okay, that sounds interesting. So, what are some of the wins of signing day? Now, I am going to go ahead and preface this by saying I don't keep up with recruiting. Now, everybody else seems to be shocked that we had a garbage recruiting class, but I was like, it's Mike Leach. What else y'all want? I never remember him being an elite recruiter or anything like that. Somehow people thought that was supposed to change because SEC. But I'm like, yeah, it's the SEC, but it's also Mississippi State. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Then we going up against Moneybag U. And not only Moneybag U, but it's Lane Kiffin, who I wouldn't be shocked if he bolted Ole Miss and went to Auburn or something like that. But what else? So I am going to defer to, let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe. I'm going to go to Jeremiah. Why not, right?
Well, I think just kind of, not preface, but piggyback off what you're saying. No, it wasn't the signing day everybody was expecting. I think the main thing that people were saying that was a bad signing day was more the fact that we had all those guys flip. For understand, a lot of people thought maybe MJ Daniels probably knew he was going to flip for a long time, so it just do it on signing day is kind of an Ole Miss thing to do. Now, if the coach goes to Auburn, that's going to be a nice ha-ha. But Malik Neighbors going to LSU, that's kind of he wanted to go there anyway, but he was afraid they were going to put him at DB, which they're probably going to do. So they probably lied to him. And then Devontae Strong, I kind of understand that one, so I don't think it was a guarantee that he was going to come in and start. He very well could have, but who knows? Maybe LSU lost a lot of players. That's what people got to look at. Everybody's looking at the fact that LSU stole a couple of our guys, but if you got a chance to go start at a LSU or play a lot of Clemson, Mississippi State, what's the choice you're going to make? So I think some of them guys make logical decisions. It's just the fact that some of them went on social media and declared that they still committed to Mississippi State, then they flipped. It's kind of lame to me. I don't care if they are kids. But just to get to some of the wins, I think people are so focused on the flips and not focused on what we did get. We did get Sawyer Robertson, the top quarterback in Texas, 4-star guy, one of our highest rated quarterback commits. Seemed like he will be a fit for Leach's scheme, and he probably throws a better deep ball. I don't think now with, and I guess we're going to get to Jack Abraham. With him coming in, I think you put yourself in a position where you don't even have to play him next year unless he just comes in and just shows out. If he shows out, then, I mean, what's the point of holding him back? But you can redshirt him next year and let him grow and then kind of create a stagger behind Will Rogers or Jack Abraham if he starts next year. We did get 4 or 5 good receivers. Teddy Knox is a 4-star. Antonio Harmon is a 4-star. Everybody's so focused on Malik Neighbors and not focused on the fact that we got other 4-star receivers when we got a couple good ones coming back. We rebuilt the offensive line. We did get a good Sam linebacker and John Lewis. I forgot who else. We got Corey Ellington, who I'll get to in our sleepers of the class. We got a couple good players. Now, it's not the sexy class that everybody wanted. I think those really talented guys would have set it off like with MJ Daniels. But I don't think any of those guys is the end of the world, but we'll get to those in the losses. And technically, we're not done because Jadarius Perkins still has to make his decision on Christmas, and then Deontay Anderson and Ty Cooper. So you get those 3, I think that, I won't say salvages the class, but I think that makes it a more manageable class because people acting like we're in the top 25 in recruiting every year. We're normally somewhere around 25 to 30 or something. So if we were to get those 3 guys, we'll probably be okay.
All right, so Derek, once again, I don't know nothing about this stuff, y'all are the more technical, looking at behind the scenes type stuff. I would say that I represent the average Mississippi State fan who just goes off of what he sees with his eyes. There's a term for that, but I forget what it is, But yeah,
a fan.
Well, I mean, not to echo Jeremiah. I like Sawyer Robertson. I think he is definitely the quarterback of the future. My favorite commit out of this class has to be John Lewis because, he's such he can play Sam Man, he can play middle linebacker. He has the range and the build to grow into a middle linebacker. Jacoby Moore, I also like him, and also Simeon Price, the athlete out of West Florida Tech, is going to play a running back for us, and I actually think that we're not going to recruit traditional running backs anymore. We're going to recruit wide receivers that can also play a little running back. Defensively, my favorite commit has to be, I would say, maybe Jay Hampton, because he's flying under the radar. Right now, he doesn't have a rating, and, they're looking at him as playing cornerback. So he's going to be a guy that we're going to be looked at because he's 6'2", 175, runs a 4.4. That height and weight remind you of Jonathan Banks. We're just going to see if he can develop into a cornerback. So I know he hadn't played a lot of defense, but he's been recruited as a corner. He has the ability. And also, a young man I'm going to have a story coming out about in a couple of days, of Randy Charlton at defensive end. He is going to be a nice pickup for us, on that defensive line. I talked to one of his former coaches, and he could have gone Power 5 if he wanted to. He just chose UCF to stay close to home. So, he's a kid that, when you look at his film, you can see his ability. And in this defense that we have, adding somebody with his talent and ability is needed, especially, with us losing Errol and losing Kobe and losing Spencer. You're going to need somebody who can come in and rush the passer, and that's what Randy Charlton brings.
Right, yeah. So bad boy. So is it safe to say that he's the sleeper of the class to you?
Charlton? I would say, yeah, because you have college film on him. He's played against Power 5 schools. He's played in bowls. So you can see what he can do against top tier college offensive linemen. Whereas the young defensive linemen that we have coming in, we don't have that film on him. So it's almost like you get a preview of what you can have in a player like him because he's not the typical transfer. He's not a guy who was sitting on the bench. He is a player, and I don't want to focus on why he leaving Central Florida. Let's focus on the type of player he is outside of that one incident.
Well, I would say you might want to focus on those type of things. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So you
from what I'm told, from what I'm told, Jeremiah, and I've spoken to one of his coaches, his high school coach. I'm going to speak with another one. This kid is a model citizen outside of that one incident. This isn't a kid who goes and looks for trouble. Okay, that's not who he is, and I got that from one of his coaches, and I also echo from his brother. One of his brother who's also on the staff at I think still at Miami or whatever. But there's another coach I'm going to be talking to this week to get more about this kid, and so that people can know that he's not a troublemaker. He was defending a teammate. He wasn't out seeking for trouble. He saw something that happened that was wrong, and he may have used foul language. He didn't assault anybody. He didn't put his hands on anybody. He basically got kicked out for cussing, basically.
I mean, we have to be just realistic about them type of things. I'm just saying, I think the kid is a good player. It's not me being argumentative to that fact. It's more to the point of you can't just say, you can't really say that he won't mess up because you can't really make
you don't know who's going to mess up. But from what I've talked to, from the coaches I've talked to, that's out of character for him. Model student, leader is what I've heard from his coaches.
Here's the thing with stuff like that, though. You have to wonder, why would they say anything different? You got to think it's kind of the point. That's more, you got to look at that type of stuff. So,
Jeremiah, I could see if he manhandled, if he picked up the security guard and threw him down like the guy in high school did.
I'm looking
wait.
AJ, move on.
I'm muting everybody. I'm shutting down the studio. Now, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, we've known Mississippi State players to stomp out cops and keep on playing, and they turned out fine. They live really kick A-word lives from there. So I think that the next question is, how disappointed or not disappointed are you in the class? I'm going to start off with, why not Derek? Don't say nothing else. Don't do.
Well, outside of getting flippered by MJ Daniels, which it was rumored to be happening, and
wait 1 second though. Who was that kid who flipped from State to Ole Miss
and threw the hat
up at Memphis?
Oh, that was Mark Pounders.
Macallan Pounders.
Yeah.
Now, due to his last name, there are a lot of immature, inappropriate jokes that I can make about his signing day experience, but I'm not going to. I could, but I won't. Okay?
Let's do it off camera.
I said that he was the personification of
Arthur, I thought you said you weren't gonna do it.
When you try and talk to two friends and end up with neither one. I'm like, this poor kid right here. That man got played like a fiddle by Lane Kiffin.
Ole Miss.
Yeah. Here's the thing with that though.
I wasn't done yet. I wasn't done yet. Let me finish.
Okay.
From what I've heard, that he knew that Ole Miss didn't necessarily have a spot for him. So Mississippi State did have a spot, I'm guessing, but then, Jeremiah may know more about that. But here's the thing: when you're committed, a place has a spot for you, why would you risk, for going to a place that you don't know has a spot for you? Losing neighbors hurts. Losing strong hurts. I don't necessarily think he's going to start right away at LSU. Both middle linebackers come back. Barksdale and Damone Clark both come back to LSU. So he's going to have to fight for that starting job if he's going to get it. Does he have the capability to start day one at LSU? He does. But his chances of starting day one were better at Mississippi State.
Okay. So, Jeremiah.
Like I said, I'm not 100%. I'm a little disappointed we did lose some of those guys late. That did kind of just to give Ole Miss that but Ole Miss kind of been doing this for years, and what does that ever amount to? They still win the same amount of games that we do. So it's kind of like, I guess to touch on Pounders, from understand we actually dropped him first, and then he committed to Ole Miss, but Ole Miss didn't have a spot, so that's how that kind of worked out. And from understand, it really was a situation where we dropped him because we knew he was essentially flirting with Ole Miss, so we kind of were proactive, so we didn't end up with a flip situation. Them being able to flip some 3-star on signing day, like, look, we stole one of your players, woohoo! And so they were able to do that. So, and they never had a spot for him to begin with, so he looked bad. But I think from Lane Kiffin's standpoint, unless he goes to Auburn, I don't think that was the move because you got to think of how the coaches in Mississippi are going to look at that. Like we dropped some guys. That's another thing for a guy to commit to your school and then you drop him. And he probably shouldn't have committed unless he knew it was a committal. Because guys that are committed to schools and they didn't really give them a verbal offers don't really mean anything. But if it was a firm offer and they pulled it, that's not a good look for you. So a lot of coaches, especially from that area, they have other players who already believe they're gonna go to Ole Miss. Not while Lane Kiffin's the coach. So that's something you really have to think about. But I mean, the class ain't what we probably expected because of if we didn't have the flips, I think it would have been okay. We had a solid class, but now everybody's looking like, man, Ole Miss got one over on us. But this isn't the first time. This same school that gets the no one player positions, and it makes 0 sense. So can't really trip off of that. So I think we'll find out probably sometime next year or 2 years from now if this truly was a disappointing class because we got to see what Leach does with talent.
So my question is, what is it with Ole Miss? Because wasn't it Ole Miss last year where the guy had like the signing day ceremony and committed to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss had like pulled his offer a while ago or something like that? Y'all don't remember that?
No, I don't remember.
That was a dude I think it was last year, had a whole signing day ceremony where he committed to Ole Miss, but he didn't even have an offer. Like he had one at some point. And then like,
I don't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah, and he ended up in like North Texas or something like that. But yeah,
I for the life of me don't understand I understand you have Archie Manning. He's a beloved player, a Mississippi icon. I understand. You have the medical school that's associated with Ole Miss. But outside of that, I don't understand why the sports world is so in love with Ole Miss. Mind you, I have family in Oxford. I grew up. I was up there a lot growing up. Still wasn't Ole Miss fan. You know, um, still have family in Oxford. My baby sister's a Rebel. I just don't see what the big deal is about. Oh, Ole Miss is so much better than Mississippi State.
Who says that? I'm trying to figure out who says that.
That's when you gotta look at it. They just get like when you look at the Clarion Ledger. A lot of people don't. That's our state newspaper.
The Clarion Ledger.
Yeah. On signing day, you would think you would promote all three of your schools. No, they got Ole Miss splashed across the first page. ESPN just is in love with the Ole Miss. Oh, this story about Archie Manning. I'm like,
anyway.
I'm like this. I mean, you could look at Mississippi State's history, and you could find some of the same feel-good stories about Mississippi State. But it's just like Ole Miss this, Ole Miss that. We're the flagship of Mississippi. I mean,
get the what did they call it? Their cheating booster network, the network or something like that they used to call it.
So I mean, you have two schools. One, they have the edge in the Egg Bowl. Whoopsie, you know what I'm saying? Who really cares about Egg Bowl streaks that weren't being played when we were alive, when we weren't even being thought about. But I understand for historical context.
I mean, before integration.
Right. So I mean, You with the Ole Miss. I think you should be able to tell us better than that.
I
You
legit
were
don't
around
care.
that.
Like, I
You
really
know
don't
what?
care.
I
Like,
have thoughts.
I mean,
I have thoughts on this. As a person who went to Mississippi State and I went to Ole Miss, I have thoughts because I'll say this. After I went to Ole Miss for like 2 years, and I went to visit Starkville after having been in Oxford every day, the first time when I went back and I visited Mississippi State, I thought it was a dump. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, oh my God, I do not remember this place looking so bad. I don't know how to describe it. And like, Ole Miss has a very beautiful campus and everything.
Mississippi State has a beautiful campus too.
It ain't the same. I'm not gonna lie to you. It ain't the same. But this is my thing. I believe that Mississippi State is one of those things, kind of like Mississippi State versus Ole Miss. Like I say, it's like the Harry Potter sorting hat. Because on one hand, I acknowledge that like stuff is snazzy in Oxford and it's fancy in Oxford, and like the women is whatever, and the way that the buildings look and the attitude of the people is a little bit more high class or whatnot.
You mean Oxford and Starkville or Ole Miss?
Oxford and Starkville, the towns, well, even the universities themselves. But I'll say this, Mississippi State is like, I don't know. You know how like when something is like I'm a younger brother, okay? So I have 2 older brothers and whatnot. But the thing is like, Ole Miss has the glitz and it has the glamour. But in my opinion, Mississippi State, the university, the school, the town, it go harder. You know what I'm saying? It might not be the biggest and the best or whatnot, but it go hard.
I'm gonna say this as the only one of us who did not go to Mississippi State. During my college years, I partied and hung out at Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Had a good time at both, but want to know where I was at almost every weekend? Not because it was closer either. Starkville. Starkville was home to me. I felt more home at Starkville than Oxford, and I got family in Oxford. I could have stayed for free in Oxford, but I chose to go to Mississippi State and sometimes stay at the frat house or sometimes get me a hotel room and have fun in Starkville.
Yeah, I fool Mississippi.
All right, so
Mississippi State people a lot more. I have a bunch of. I'm gonna have to do like Charlie Murphy and have King Arthur's true Ole Miss story, so I can. But Jeremiah seems perturbed. He's just making a face for whatever reason.
Well, because we kind of gotten off topic a little bit.
I think we kind of get caught up on that. I mean, I think for one, Ole Miss has the law school, they had a medical school. So, sometimes the people with money in the state are Ole Miss people. So, I mean, you talking to Clarence Ledgers, we know they lean that way, but I don't get caught up on that. Like, I don't really care. Like, if, whoever wins, I mean, they had a better season this year. Cool. Not much better, but a better season. Not like they went out there and went 9-0 or nothing. They had an exciting season. Their offense looked good. Will they be able to sustain? We had a rough season with a lot of opt-outs.
Oh, speaking of opt-outs. Sorry, Jeremiah.
So
that's Mississippi State new slogan. Mississippi State, we go harder. That's
gonna be your slogan. Replace Praise the Lord and go Dawgs.
No.
Oh. All right.
Or maybe it should be. All right.
I would like to finish my thought. Okay. All right. So the thing is, I don't get too caught up in the whole Ole Miss Mississippi State thing. I think all of us kind of get too caught up in it, but at the same time, sometimes I don't know if I feel like there's a media thing. Maybe it's because I'm not in Mississippi, but I never feel like the media is leaning toward Ole Miss. Now I know at one point the ESPN recruiting, one of their people actually was paid by Ole Miss. Literally, he was one of their not recruiting analysts, but he was like a consultant or something for him. So I think sometimes they do boost guys' ratings, things like that. I think that stuff does go on, but I don't think there's no true Ole Miss slant in that way. Like I said, I'm not back in Mississippi, but I never even felt it was that way to begin with. I don't feel it's that way. I feel you out there and win games because, truth be told, we were the better team the last 10 years. This is our first losing season. Well, we only had one losing season in the last 10 years. But, I mean, we've actually consistently won. Ole Miss hasn't done that, and that's what I focus on, wins and losses. So we can talk – they do splashier things. Like, we never get caught up too much. The only thing I can remember, we did something similar to, like, flipping guys on signing day or engaging in that type of mess when Dan Mullen pretty much made Chris Jones go up to Ole Miss to pretend that he had interest in Ole Miss to get the scoop on them so they can get in trouble. It's not like we don't do it, too. We just do other stuff. So it's not like Mullen don't do stuff like that. And I'm not going to talk about how Coach Mullen is one of the reasons that Cam Newton got in trouble. We're not going to get into that. It's not like we just clean on any of this stuff.
Man, everybody.
Say what?
That ain't
I don't know. I want to know. Spill the beans.
I just said it. He's one of the people that was involved in Cam Newton getting in trouble, him and Urban Meyer. So, just saying.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to act like we're perfect.
The Chris Jones being a spy thing, I had heard that for somebody else, too. But that's an old thing. Splash. It's splash, flash, glamour, all that type of stuff, and no real substance behind it. So that's something else.
Still being a fat dude, I'm gonna choose the school where I can get cheese and cookies and cream ice cream though. Mississippi State makes their own cheese and cookies and cream ice cream.
I know. I used to work there.
But I will say this: Ole Miss is where the money at. Markel McKinley.
Mississippi State got money.
One of my favorite quotes.
Understand? We don't cheat until after you sign.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna say this: when I was at Ole Miss, when you went to their games, Ole Miss fed the crap out of you. Like, you had to go to the off-brand games though. Like, if you went to like the softball games, like they would have crawfish boils at the game. 100 pounds of crawfish.
For fans?
Yes, 100 pounds of crawfish with sausage, corn, and everything. They're just laid out on these tables, and you just eat crawfish the whole game. Then they had grilled.
So basically, they're like needful things.
Huh?
They're the needful things of the SEC.
Yeah.
You ever seen needful things? Yeah.
They had crawfish. You could bring your own coolers out there. They had grills. You could barbecue while you was at the game. Like, you would go to the tennis game, and they'll have, like, Chick-fil-A tenders and stuff. You go to the games on Sundays. They had Sundays out there. Ole Miss fed the crap out of you at their games. And anybody who is watching this is like, what is these dudes talking about? So let's talk about Jack Abraham. So in the annals of SEC sports or just sports in general, you have athletes who have been at certain schools forever. So you have like Hunter Renfrow, who had been at Clemson since Bowden or whatever was the coach. You have Abdul Adu, who has been at Mississippi State since Rick Ray was the coach.
He has another year. Another year.
Abdul Adu, who has been there since Rick Ray was the coach.
Has he literally been at State since then?
No, I think he's been there since like the first year of Howland or something like that. But he's been there a while. Year. Who else? Who's some more players who've been Fat being at Mississippi State? You know, people who just known for being at one place for a while.
Yeah, I heard about Fat for years before I actually even met him. Like, I was like, man, he was a legend before I met him. Like, oh, you're the guy that they always talk about?
So y'all saying Kendrick is a Van Wilder of Mississippi State?
That's exactly what.
I mean, that's probably a fair assessment.
You know, so he's what's the movie? I can't remember. Animal House. What's the dude from Animal House that was there forever? Otter, one of them. I don't know if y'all ever seen. I don't know if y'all ever seen Animal House.
Your generation.
He was just a legendary Omega before we met him.
You could have asked us about how high.
You know what's weird? I found out something weird this week. I didn't know Omegas back from like the 70s didn't hop. They used to march.
Oh, well.
That's above. That's
random information. I know.
You need to wait on kids.
I thought that was.
I don't know nothing about any of that. But anyway, so Jack Abraham, who I thought had graduated from USM 3 years ago, apparently still has eligibility. And he's walking on at Mississippi State. Do we care? Jeremiah, I'm gonna start off with you.
I don't know much about him. I looked him up. Like I knew who he was when people started mentioning the name. I know they said he was Southern Miss quarterback. His numbers are pretty good. It's not like we're asking him to have him come in and be a starter. I thought it was interesting that we were getting him as a walk-on. We're not giving him a scholarship. We're not giving him anything. He probably is a guy you probably could have gave a scholarship to. He'll be a 6-year senior. I mean, we'll be his fourth school. That's kind of weird, but I mean, although one of them was a JUCO, but I mean, he had some success at Southern Miss. He was accurate. I mean, I think it puts us in a good position next year with Will Rogers, Abraham, and then the kid from Vanderbilt. You got a top 3 quarterback situation. You got 3 good quarterbacks, and instead of like this year, a guy getting injured or the other guys aren't good enough, so they have to transfer. You got a stable quarterback room with no minorities, but it's a stable quarterback room where you can redshirt the guys. So I really like it. I think he'll be a capable backup or a potential starter if Rogers doesn't wow in the preseason, because I don't think it should be set in stone that Will Rogers is our quarterback next year. Jack Abraham is, pretty good, or Sawyer Robertson balls out. Because Will Rogers, I really like his intangibles, but he doesn't throw a great deep ball. That's kind of a concern of mine. And he gets the ball batted down a lot. There's some things he has to improve upon. So we can't settle like, oh, this is our quarterback of the future, and he's going to be an All-American. Like, I can't really say that right now, but I really like him. I think he's really good, and I want to see how he grows. But he's going to have competition. He's going to have to earn that job. So I think Abraham presents it.
Like, I feel like Jack Abraham was at I feel like he was at USM with Nick Mullins for some reason. Like, I'm serious. Like, I'm not even kidding. So Derek, tell us why we should care about Jack Abraham.
I have a question for Jeremiah. Jeremiah, what does Mike Leach look for in his quarterback? What is his number one, I guess you can say, trait that he looks for in his quarterbacks?
I was gonna say phenotype, but accuracy. Accuracy, yeah.
Oh, Abraham has completed 69% of his passes for a career. 2018, he completed 73% of his passes. So he fits what Mike Leach wants in a quarterback. Now, I really feel like, Will Rogers is going to be our starting quarterback. KJ could also come back. But adding someone like Jack, I mean, yeah, he could, but he participated in senior day. So if he plays college football, it won't be a Mississippi State.
Hey, look, man, I was a big KJ defender, but
that Carter milk done sour finally.
No, I'm just being realistic. Yeah. What's the point?
Here is what Jack Abraham gives us, what we don't have. Outside of Will Rogers, we don't have anybody who's played a game, really, except for Alan Walters, and he played Vandy. Vandy, you really want to count on having a backup quarterback from Vandy being?
Well, we 2-7 this season, so I mean, we can't really talk.
I mean, but still, I mean, put like this here: in a regular college football season, we're at least 6-6. You know what I'm saying? In a regular college football season, we're at least 6-6. But in Jack Abraham, you get a respectable FBS starting quarterback. Is he going to completely wow you? No, but no one thought that Gardner Minshew was going to wow you either. So this is another kid.
Man, that dude's recruiting so much off of Gardner Minshew. I don't mean to cut you.
Yeah, but I'm just saying this is another guy from Mississippi, a journeyman quarterback with talent that Leach could possibly help showcase his abilities. Now he's going to have to battle for that position. Will Rogers, Sawyer Robertson, and we also can't forget Daniel DeGreek, the other quarterback in our recruiting class. He's actually bigger and a more prototypical drop-back quarterback than Sawyer Robertson. So we're gonna have a pretty good quarterback room. It's been reset back to like a Nintendo. But I like Jack Abraham coming to Mississippi State for his last year. It gives us something that we really didn't have last year after KJ went down, a capable backup. And that's what he brings. I don't think he's going to start, but you got to have a capable backup, and that's what Jack Abraham is for his senior year.
All right, Ben.
I think it'll be a competition. I'll say that much.
Okay, so we gotta speed up just a smidgen. But I wanted to put out there that Illinois has hired Brett Bielema to replace Lovie Smith.
They're gonna be a smash mouth team. They're
Yeah,
not gonna
and
throw
it's
it, but
Big
they're
Ten.
gonna run the ball.
Yeah, it's the Big Ten, so I feel like it's a fit. But
Yeah.
I like Brett
might as
Bielema.
well
I mean,
hire him back.
former Wisconsin Badger. I mean, going back home. You know,
Yeah.
to the Big Ten.
Yeah, the Arkansas move was a lateral move to begin with, so I don't even know why he did that.
Because Arkansas has a history of smash mouth football. It kind of fit his personality.
Yeah,
as
they don't
far
have
as
no
the type
talent
of
there, though.
football brand that he wanted to bring, but you know.
But
It's hard to coach. There's a reason that Gus Malzahn, I bet he wish he did it now, didn't want to go to Arkansas. There's not a lot of talent up there, so.
I'll say this about Arkansas. The thing about Arkansas is that they don't have to. I feel as though that they're the only game in town, and Greenville is right next to Arkansas, so we have a lot of interaction with people from Arkansas. And the thing about people in Arkansas is that they all, regardless of what university that they went to, they identify as Razorbacks. Now, I think that
even the Red Wolves.
Yeah, most of the people there, they still like I identify as being a Razorback. As far as like college football and stuff like that is concerned. But I will say this: when I went over to Hot Springs, I started to see a lot of Oklahoma sympathizers. So make of that what you will. But yeah, I feel as though that they're the only game in town, so it's like whatever. But yeah, you don't hear a lot about talent coming from Arkansas, but what else per capita? So a great man once said, "I am delivered. I don't like men's no more."
What?
And
he's talking about that dude, that social media guy.
I know who that is. I'm just saying, what is he talking about?
Of women's basketball.
We ain't gonna talk about J State. Come on, man.
Man, we okay. School that is not Mississippi State and not in Mississippi State had a good recruiting class. I don't want to dedicate a lot of time to it, but thoughts. Oh, Jeremiah.
Okay, so I mean, in a sense, it kind of impacts us because I don't think J State's gonna go and out recruit us, but they're taking a little bit of our luster. They kind of get it going, and they get in a conference, and something we better keep our eye on because they were able to get a few big names and get splashed. Now they pushed the whole per player thing. They didn't have. They still had a top 40 class. They got a couple of 4 stars. I think they got almost as many 4 stars as we got, which is
2.
strange. But because people don't realize them getting 3 or 4 stars plus maybe like 8 or 9 3 stars. That's way more impactful because those guys can come in and honestly probably dominate at the SWAC level. That don't necessarily mean you can win at the SC level at all, but at the SWAC level, you can win that way. And they got a few guys like a Deion Son. Shador ends up being a 4-star caliber player for sure. I for sure would put them on the schedule. I'll say that.
I have reservations personally because the thing that comes to mind for me is Penny Hardaway at Memphis, and Memphis thought that okay, well this guy's a good recruiter and he won a couple of state championships in basketball or whatnot, so he's gonna come to Memphis and it's gonna equate to all these 5-star prospects and blah 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 blah. But I feel as though that a big name plus talent doesn't necessarily mean that you go run everybody. Like when Tony Hughes went there. Tony Hughes is known as a great recruiter, and then they had at OC. They had what the guy name is? Huh?
They had Tony Hughes signed 2 30-man classes when he was at Jackson State.
Yeah. And Alcorn still was putting the brakes to him. Then you had what was I about to say? Hal Mummy went to Jackson State as the offensive coordinator, and then he quit.
Yeah, that wasn't.
Did he even make it through a season?
No.
Yeah. I didn't even know he went to Jackson State.
Yeah. So, he was at Belhaven for a while.
Right.
Okay.
So
shout out to my older brother, former school.
So I thought he went to Millsaps.
He went to Belhaven.
Belhaven.
Oh, okay.
He was at Belhaven.
No, I was talking about my older brother actually went to Belhaven for a semester.
Right. He played corner there, right?
Yeah, for a semester before he joined the military.
Okay. So I know how, I live in Jackson, but I'm going to keep it real. And now, when they had, who was it, Kamaji there, they were doing pretty good, but then they decided they were going to fire him for pretty much no reason. I hope that Deion Sanders does well there. However, I feel as though that, and I think that they probably acknowledge the same thing that I'm thinking, but I'm not gonna say.
Say it.
And they want Deion Sanders to come in there and shake up the culture in the athletic department or whatnot and get them on track, because for whatever reason, they hadn't been able to break through. Because when Hobson was at Alcorn, they started, he was the one who kind of put them on the track or whatever. And you thought that when he left and went to USM, that Alcorn would lose some of their luster, but they didn't. So Alcorn has built a program and they have built a culture of winning. And I don't know what it is that Jackson State has going on that they hadn't been able to do it, but maybe Coach Prime will be the person who comes in there and does it. But I think that it's going to take more than him just bringing in a lot of recruits and bounce back guys or whatever. Because I'm sorry, you would never convince me that a guy had a perfectly good opportunity to go to UGA or Florida, and he just woke up one day and was like, you know what? I want to go to Jackson State. Maybe that's what happened. Who knows? But
I think
wait, you in my wheelhouse too. So I'm grad.
I think what you're gonna see with a lot of those guys, some of those guys, those JUCO players, are guys coming out of high school where some murkiness about them qualifying. You're gonna see a lot of those guys end up at J State. So would you rather go to a JUCO for 2 years and rebuild your stock, or trying to maintain for 2 years and then go to a D1, or would you rather go to a J State and play for Coach Prime? I mean, that name, you can talk about a Tony Hughes and all them guys, they ain't Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is considered, to some people, the greatest cornerback of all time and one of the greatest athletes, period, of all time. He has a name. He don't need to be a great coach. He needs to be a great CEO and bring in players, because I hate to, it's not disrespecting the SWAC or anything like that, but just him having a level of talent, D1 talent at that level, they're going to win games just off the fact they just got more talent than everybody else. And not to say those players can't do anything, they're not well coached or anything like that. So sometimes you got more houses, and I think it'll be a situation like that. And I think he doesn't need to build a 10-year program. That's what Jackson State wants long-term for their program. But I don't think Prime is going to be there for 10 years. It may more be like 5. But he may win a lot in 5 years. My prediction, he stays there for 4 years until his younger son graduates, and then a D1 school, I think, will come calling. Because if he can do this at Jackson State, think about what he can do at a bigger school.
Right. I mean,
right. So we're
there, definitely there.
Y'all in my wheelhouse now, because I'm an HBCU graduate, and I'm also from Jackson. And I have been watching this situation ever since Deion Sanders was hired. And what Arthur said, he is going to shock the culture of Jackson State, of the SWAC. When you bring, like Jeremiah said, when you have more horses, you're going to be expected to do great things. They have a 4-star quarterback already in Jalen Jones from Florida. He was just starting to come into his own. They have a running back down there that basically, with my school, Mississippi State, we don't win much. But we were kicking the stink out of Jackson State one year. They put that kid in, and he just outran everybody. So there was already talent on the program. You bring in someone like Deion Sanders, who, like Jeremiah said, he's going to have to probably be a CEO, because he's never really been a big-time coach. He was offensive coordinator for a high school. He then brought that head coach from the high school with him to Jackson State. I can't remember exactly what position he's coaching, but he's on the staff. The staff has guys with plenty of experience. You know, T Taylor is still there. He's a former quarterback and wide receiver for Jackson State, who was a record-setting offensive coordinator at North Carolina Central in the MEAC. So there's some coaching talent there as well as football talent there. So when you bring in quality coaching talent and bring in good football talent, you know, I don't necessarily know if it's going to happen in year one, but they're going to win some games if he can continue to recruit good players there, not necessarily impacting Mississippi State and Ole Miss or Mississippi schools in general, but just schools everywhere. Because like Jeremiah said, when you hear the name of Coach Prime Deion Sanders, it comes with a certain persona. Deion Sanders has been the most flashiest person in sports ever since he was in college. If you Google Deion Sanders, you're going to see that Jerry curl. You're going to see the video, Must Be the Money. You're going to see him, you know, arguing with Jerry Rice, Michael Irvin, and then Andre Rison, you know, his former teammate. So I don't necessarily think that Jackson State is going to, you know, beat Mississippi State or Ole Miss within the first 2 years, but they're gonna bring in some talent there. And for me, being an HBCU graduate and this being my hometown, I think it's good. I think it's great for the state of Mississippi. Look at the head coaches we have at our three biggest schools: Lane Kiffin, ready for him to go now. Mike Leach, Deion Sanders at Jackson State, and the name of Fred McNair at Alcorn. You know what I'm saying? What the McNair legacy has been to Alcorn and what he has done at Alcorn. I mean, then you got Will Hall now at USM. I mean, we now have some good coaches in the state of Mississippi, you know, that can help build a brand of Mississippi football. So we don't need Mississippi don't need so much worry about what Jackson State is doing, but just make sure you handle your business, you know. And, you know, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be great. I think are they on the schedule anymore? For coming up soon in football?
Oh,
Jackson State.
I don't know.
You know, so I know, you know, at one point Jackson State was very, very dominant. USM did not want to play them. So I don't know if Jackson State's going to get like that again, but it's going to be nice to see my hometown school be able to make some noise and hopefully dethrone those Alcorn State Braves. Don't let them win a 7 straight SWAC East championship.
Well, I'll say this. I did not go to a SWAC school. My mama went to Valley or whatnot, and I got family members who went to Jackson State, blah, 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 yakety-smacky. But I have been a part of a lot of Black institutions, whether it's school districts or whatnot, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to say this. I just hope that they don't find a way to muck this up.
Yeah, already on probation, but it wasn't because of Deion Sanders.
Well, I'm not even talking about that, but you know how sometimes you will have things that'll be going good, and then somebody decide that they want to exalt themselves. They start deciding that they want to get political and start inserting themselves into it, because I feel as though that you're going to have to let Prime do his own thing. And I would imagine that was a part of the agreement of them letting him come in the first place. You know, was he was probably like, when I come in, y'all gotta let me do it my way. But you know, I know that back in my hometown, they would find ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory in situations.
I think what you're looking for to come is like the substance. I think right now they have an excellent promotional campaign going on right now. They're doing a good job, I think, of recruiting talent and putting a spotlight on Jackson State. I think now you have to win games. And as you said, just don't politicize the situation. Just go in. Because I saw something where they were talking to Governor Reeves. I think the ultimate goal is Jackson State, of course, to get their program back right. But I think as some people have been talking about, you know, they have a 65,000 seat stadium. You're in Jackson, the state capital. I think their goal is to get into a conference. Because if they were able to get into a conference, as I was talking with a friend last night, that could be highly impactful. If they had 85 scholarships to play around with, I would worry then if I was a Mississippi State. Now, they wouldn't be able to compete for national championships, but of course, it would take a while for their program to get built up into that. But if you get to, a conference level, a conference USA or a Sun Belt, you might be talking.
So do you think they could be the next Appalachian State?
Well, Appalachian State in the regular conference now?
I mean, they came from FCS, and they've been playing in bowl games, and their former head coach is now the coach of Missouri. So they've been doing something right.
I don't really keep up with them like
Yeah.
that. But I think Jackson State, just because I think if they got into a conference, I could see Deion Sanders staying there a little longer. I still think the ultimate goal for him was to be I think it'll be a big program is gonna try to snatch him up if he does well down there at Jackson State. They will take a chance. Because he'll be say what?
Florida State.
Yeah, I think that's the next play. Because he's gonna recruit talent. He's already got players to come down there to Jackson State. It's really hard for me to believe he won't be able to recruit talent to a bigger school like a Florida State or Arkansas. Already had conversations with him. They probably just didn't feel it was the move. As an AD, I can see why they don't make that play. You can't go get a guy who ain't the head coach of his high school team. That's if he doesn't do well up there, or he doesn't. I don't think he would have mixed well with the people up there. My cousin played ball up there. I don't think that would have worked. But just his persona. So I think I like what they're doing so far at Jackson State. But they still have to win. But if they got all this talent, they still getting smashed or they get beat and don't have a winning record, it's not gonna look good.
Well, I think that historically Jackson State football team is pretty good. So I think I could see it working out pretty well.
Not since Comedy left.
Yeah. Now they have been since then, but before that, Jackson State pretty good. Now, Derek, help me out with this. Is it the Ohio Valley Conference? Is that the one that TSU is in?
Yeah. Tennessee State.
Because what conference is that all the MEAC schools been going to?
The SWAC and then the Big South.
Yeah, mostly the Big South though, right? Like, ain't that where Howard?
Hampton went to the Big South. North Carolina A&T is going to the Big South. Howard, to my knowledge, is still in the MEAC. I haven't seen that they're talking about leaving. We added the Florida schools from MEAC, FAMU, and Bethune-Cookman to the SWAC this year.
Yeah.
I saw something about Texas Southern maybe going to the Southland. I'm gonna have to research that and see. Don't quote me on that. I just saw a tweet where somebody was saying Texas Southern was going to be joining the Southland. So I'm gonna have to look into that and see. But yeah, the Big South and the SWAC.
So I'm thinking. Because, if you look at Jackson State in terms of, like you were talking about the size of the stadium and the urban setting and stuff like that, I could see them, going to the Ohio Valley Conference where they already have the built-in rivalry with Texas Southern and blah, 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 blah. I could see them going there and doing pretty good for themselves.
Or Ohio Valley still FCS, though.
Yeah, I know, but
Jeremiah's saying that they're gonna go FBS. That's the goal, right, Jeremiah?
I would say that they need to crawl before they walk. But
if you go to the FBS level and you get in on a lower conference, you gotta think just that first year being able to have all those scholarships. I'm pretty sure if they got bumped up to 85, they'll be able to recruit a lot of athletes. It's hard for me to believe Prime could make a push and get guys to come there because I think the biggest deterrent to going to a Jackson State is the level of competition. Now, you wouldn't be able to play a lot of big-name schools even in those conferences, but in your non-conference, you always can play a few big-name schools. People are going to pay attention to your program because Coach Deion is the coach, and then they're probably going to have some type of documentary-type deal going on like last CSU. So, and then you get a chance just to be around. Huh?
Just don't call it that.
In a way, getting coached by Deion Sanders is almost, in some ways, the football equivalent of getting coached by Michael Jordan. You know how some people say, Michael Jordan has, a gold glow or something like that. You got to think you get to go play for Deion Sanders and get to play for him, see him every day.
Hey, you know what's funny? Is that Jermont Gordon said.
That's why I said it.
Yeah, he was like, he can see his aura. But I have heard other players say the same thing. They're like, when I first met, and there are several documented instances of players saying that they saw aura around Michael Jordan. So maybe
like a halo.
Yeah, like Bruce Leroy. Because
you got to think about it. how many great coaches are there out there right now in the NFL or college level that they were great players? Like, not great players in the sense of, now some of them were like Hall of Famers potentially, but players who were like the best of the best. A lot of times great players don't make great coaches to begin with. But how many of them were great players that were like stars, like mega stars? How many of them
college
are
or pro?
out there like that? Huh?
College or pro? Or just
Either
in
level.
general?
Think about it. Like Penny Hardaway, he was kind of a star, even, coaching in Memphis. But a lot of the younger players, people younger than us, don't. I mean, we were kids when he was a star. We were younger children. Huh?
Stackhouse at Vandy.
But Stackhouse wasn't
Stackhouse he ain't Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders was a
Lazy Hunter at Valley.
All right.
Deion Sanders was a cultural icon. His fame superseded just
yes.
I mean, you
must be the money.
Then this dude was playing for the Braves also. So he had kind of like the Bo Jackson type of deal going on too. And he had the primetime video game. Because I remember, my brother, like when we would be in the backyard, like we would be kicking our feet up, trying to high step into the end zone, trying to be Deion Sanders. Wasn't nobody in the backyard pretending like they're Lindsey Hunter. I
mean, you don't know that.
I
mean, maybe you or something like that, but not us.
I mean, yeah, like Stackhouse, even Penny Hardaway, we remember him, and that's more as kids. But these folks' parents and even the younger kids know who Deion Sanders is. They know who he is, even if it's just their parents talking about it. All of, like you said, the stuff that AJ was talking about, he had the video game, the Must Be the Money video. He was associated with all, as AJ put it perfectly, he was a cultural icon. So what team is coached by somebody who was that guy when they were playing? Some of them became analysts and stuff like Shaq or, Charles Barkley. Jordan became an owner. LeBron's not going to be a coach. He could be. He's going to be like an owner or something. So how many teams are coached by those type of guys? So I think that's something that is just going to be rare.
I got it. What if Deion Sanders became the head baseball coach at Jackson State also?
All right, that's I wouldn't be shocked if he recruited a bunch of guys who can play both sports.
Yeah, I mean,
his impact is going to help other schools. You know what I'm saying? His reach is not just going to be football. Yeah, it's going to go across the whole program.
Huh?
And Jack State has made noise in the College World Series when they've gotten there. So
remember when
they was on the U of L side.
Remember I was talking when the AD came on, when Cohen came on, I asked him about that because Jackson State shut out ULL and they were like the number one seed in the tournament that year. Yeah, they got a pretty good program. Anyway, we done skipped over. We went 10 minutes over. Oh. We ain't talked about the women's. We ain't did our picks yet. Right. I don't know.
Well, before we go, I got to shout out my homeboy, the athletic director at Jackson State, a Mississippi Valley State University alum, Ashley Robinson. So,
all right, man.
It's been good discussion, though. I think it's been a nice flow.
Wait, now, real quick, who the heck is Ashley Jones?
The one that Derek, I know Derek mentioned about her transferring in.
She's a transfer from Temple. She's a 6-foot shooting guard. She originally was at West Virginia. Then she transferred to Temple. She was like the newcomer of the year there. And she's another 3-point shooting guard. And I don't necessarily know if she's enrolled, but if she is enrolled, that new rule that came out with making anybody that's enrolled that's not eligible, with us having depth issues on our women's basketball team, I mean, that would be awesome to have a player of her caliber added to this roster. Where I think right now we only got about 10. What's that?
Say what?
You sure we don't have enough guards?
Bro, we got 10 healthy players on our roster right now. 10.
That's college. I mean, that's like that's a lot of players.
In college basketball, the roster limit is 15.
Okay.
15. We got in foul trouble. Like one of the reasons why we lost that game in South Florida, because we were in foul trouble. So
how about 10 players? I mean, a lot of teams only play like 7 people.
Charlotte.
Yeah, but when you get in foul trouble, you still got to have somebody come in and at least, have fouls to give in a defensive situation. We don't have that strategy no more.
Charlotte
What's
Cole
that?
does not count
Why not?
because she's terrible.
Come on, man.
Who you
Give her
say?
time.
Charlotte
Cole.
Cole.
He talking about the girl from Germany.
What about her?
She's terrible. She can't play.
I thought we only played her like we don't really be playing her, right?
Okay.
She been getting some playing time. She gonna be all right, man.
And when she
I mean,
gets,
just like everybody was down on Quinn Post. You know, I mean, Quinn Post been playing well in his second year. You know,
all I
shooting
know is this. You know how I feel about this whole thing. You know who I call when these types of players start messing up. Okay, so I'm gonna just put that out there. Okay, it's 3 letters. I don't even know what it stands for.
Yeah, we gonna let that go.
All right, now let's go ahead and do the picks and get up at this thing because I ain't got all day. Wait, okay. Wait, hold on. All right, so we got things to do.
Arthur, ain't no sense asking you who gonna win Mississippi State, and you gonna say Mississippi State, but you gonna pick Missouri in the pick 'em.
Ah, man, I forgot.
Yeah,
I forgot to even do the pick 'em because you ain't put it out the last night.
Nah, I set that pick 'em in the inbox on Thursday.
Close
Yeah,
to
you
me.
did.
Okay, yeah, I know, but point is.
But you weren't gonna pick Mississippi State. No way. You gonna say Mississippi State on this show. Then on the pick 'em, you gonna pick opposite. You done that 3 weeks in a row.
F it.
You out.
What of it? All right, so Texas A&M, Rocky Top, Jeremiah.
Texas A&M.
All right, Derek.
Aggies.
All right. That school up north versus the LSU Tigers. Jeremiah.
Tigers.
Derek.
If Ole Miss still had Mr. Hindleg, I would go Ole Miss, but I'm going with LSU.
All right, so I didn't pick, but I'm taking Texas A&M in their game, even though they down already, and I'm gonna take Ole Miss over LSU. All right, Alabama, Florida. Jeremiah.
Bama.
Derek.
As bad as I would love for Mullen to beat Saban, he's not. They gonna beat the dog crap out of the Gators.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and Florida keep talking with a bunch of confidence, right? And I feel as though that now would be the perfect time for some shenanigans. So, despite common sense and rational telling me that Alabama is gonna beat the dog mess out of you folks, I am going to pick Florida.
And how many years was Dan Mother Mississippi State's head coach?
Look, I know.
That's his boogeyman.
It does not make sense, but for some reason, just like when Florida lost to LSU, nobody saw it coming. It didn't make any sense. We still don't know how it happened, and it took a lot of things to go wrong for Florida for it to happen, but it happened. For some reason, I believe that Florida, it might happen, okay? It could happen. All right, so UGA and Vanderbilt ain't playing today. All right, so that brings us to the game of the week, the Missouri Tigers versus the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Jeremiah Short, who, what, when, where, how?
I would have to say us. I think it'd be a good way to close out the season. I mean, well, technically the season might not be over. We'll probably get a bowl game. But I think we'll pull it out. You know, hopefully the offense can look pretty good in this game. I think that's why a lot of people are depressed. And honestly, wouldn't even be shocked that that's why we lost a recruiter to the game last week. I really do think because people were more excited after the offense, like it was going in a positive direction. So it'd be nice to see the offense kind of close the season out on a very positive note. I'm not even talking about 24 points. Let's try to, put up a lot of points in this game. Still wait to see if that actually happens, but I think that'll be something that will really help.
Playoffs, Jeremiah?
We'll probably get a bowl. We'll probably get one because of the dynamics of the situation.
Man, this guy really sitting up here talking about the playoffs.
I mean, they're saying we're probably going to get a bowl game. It's not like someone just saying we're probably going to get a bowl game.
I just hope if we go to the Liberty Bowl, I ain't gonna lie, I'll probably try and go up there. You know what I'm saying? No cap. No Kaepernick. All right. So, Derek, Missouri Tigers, Mississippi State Bulldogs.
As bad as I want to pick my Bulldogs, I just feel like right now Missouri is the better team. Um, they're the more balanced team. They're gonna run the ball, and even though they have a freshman quarterback, also, you know, he's a talented kid, and I'm gonna roll with Missouri. I would like for Mississippi State to win, but if I had to pick, I'm gonna pick Missouri.
All right. I'm kind of torn. Who did we play last week? Auburn. We didn't do so bad. I feel as though that the team is dysfunctional, but I am going to say it's gonna be Mississippi State. I won't be shocked if we lose, but I'm gonna pick Mississippi State. So, will we ever like men's anymore as far as the basketball team is concerned? Will Charlotte Cole turn out to not be horrendous? Will we win another game? These questions and more answered on the next Black Dog Sports
No
Podcast.
final thoughts.
And remember, Mississippi State University, we go harder. Okay, bye.